Reviving the Vedic Culture of Yagya by Dr. Pranabhai Pandya, disciple of Pandit Sri Ram Sharma Acharyaji. Audio 1. The Foundation of Vedic Culture, Yagya. Foundation of the Vedic culture emanates from the philosophy and science of Yagya. Yagya is the perennial symbol of this divine culture. No other topic is discussed so extensively in the Vedas as those pertaining to Yagya. The Vedic religion is principally based on Yagya. The philosophy of Yagya appears to be the life of Indology. Talking of the Vedic age automatically flashes in our memory the images of the great Rishimunis performing Agnihotra Yagya. Not only the Rishimunis, but also the common men, the rich and the poor, the kings and the citizens. In those days, all had deep faith and respect for Yagya, and they used to sincerely participate and lend wholehearted support in different kinds of Yagyas. The saints and sadhus used to spend at least 1/3 of their lives in conducting Yagyas. It was a common belief and an observed fact in the Vedic Indian society that Yagya is essential for refinement of human life from that of a Sudra, one which is driven by animal instincts, to a Brahman's sagacious altruist, to a great personality of divine glory. Yagyas were pivotal in the all-round progress, prosperity and happiness in that age. This was indeed natural, as the philosophy and science of Yagya and the different modes of performing Yagyas were discovered and developed by the Rishis based on their in-depth understanding and research of the human self, the intricacies of the social system and the mysteries of nature. In the vacillating tides of time, we lost and forgot the originality, purpose, relevance and importance of Yagya in our life. It won't be an exaggeration or mistake to conclude that this negligence and aberration has been a major cause of our fallen and miserable state today. Nevertheless, there is hope, as we somehow remember Yagya as a holy custom and occasionally perform it in some form at least, as a symbolic ritual. Although lifeless and deformed, the corpses or the feeble and hazy image of this ancient tradition is still with us. Even this way, it is an integral part of our religious customs. All the important ceremonies, including the Sodash Sanskaram since birth till death, are conducted with some Yagya or Havan in a minimal form at least. The Vedic mode of Vivaha Sanskar, wedding ceremony, takes place in the presence of the sacred flames of Yagyagni. As the melting heat of the fire wields and binds two metal pieces, the pious glow and spiritual warmth of the Yagyagni also conjugates the soul of the bride and the groom through the sacred knot of marriage. The funeral process, the Sanskar, is also a Yagya. The last rites, in whatever shabby form we find them today, are somewhat related to those of a Yagya. The Kapal Kriya marks the Purnahuti, completion of this rite, and also of the Yagya of the life of the deceased. The shape of the funeral pyre is kind of a Yagya kund in which the last remains are sacrificed to Yagyagni, which transforms the constituents of the body into the basic elements and returns them in the original form to nature. The significance of Yagya in the thread ceremony, Upnayan Sanskar, is self-evident as the sacred thread which is donned to symbolize the initiation of enlightened life is called Yagyopavit. This thread is always worn in the auspicious vicinity of a Yagya Agni. Yagya, as Havan or Agnihotra, is also supposed to be performed with the devotional programs of Katha, Kirtan, religious celebrations, and the occasions of special festivals, although what we now find in the Indian society is largely a deformed and superficial custom. Pouring some ghee and putting a little bit of sweets, cloves, dry fruits, etc. on a piece of ember is what symbolizes daily Agnihotra in most houses. Holi, which is celebrated these days as a color festival with the fuming of some dry leaves and wood rubbish, was originally a festival of Yagya to celebrate the harvesting of new crop every year. Feast full of new grains is supposed to be sacrificed in the holy Yagyas as a mark of expressing gratitude to thy grace. The spirit of purifying the grain before using it in food preparation is also associated with this Yagya. Yagya or Homam, Havan, is also carried out with the religious functions like Satyanarayan Katha, Bhagavad Katha, Ramayan, Parayan, etc. Specific Yagyas or Havans are also invariably linked with the Vedic as well as the Tantric sadhana anushtans. Gayatri sadhana is regarded incomplete without Yagya. The number of ahutis offered in the Havans or Yagyas organized with Gayatri Anushtan or Mahapurush Charans should at least equal the 10th or 100th fraction of the number of japs completed every day in these sadhanas. Worshipping of different manifestations of thee is also supposed to be adept if rendered with specific kinds of yagyas as described in the holy scriptures. The kindling of dhup, dipak, agarbatti, etc. during daily upasana are symbols of yagya, where the incense sticks are made up of havan samagri and the ghee or oil is sacrificed in the kund of the dipak. The prominence of tirth, places of pilgrimage, is also associated with yagya since the Vedic age. The places where grand yagyas were organized and conducted by the rishis became tirthas and are still revered as holy destinations of pilgrimage in India. Prayag in Allahabad is known as Tirthraj, the crown of all tirth. The word yag here is derived from yagya. The word prayag implies large number of yagyas. The Dashashwamedh Ghat of Kashi, Varanasi is said to be the place where Lord Ram had performed tens of grand yagyas of the Ashwamedh kind. Similarly, the names of the tirth like Kurukshetra, Rameshwaram, Nimishyaranya, etc. are also based on those of some historic yagyas. Because of the prominence of yagya, the land of Vedic culture, Bharat, India is referred as Karmabhumi, the glorious soil of noble deeds. The Brahm Puran mentions that the yatis of Bharat endeavor tap sadhanas, perform havans, and generously offer charities for altruist service. Saintly people pay devotion to thy manifestation, Yagya, in the Jambudvip, the Indian subcontinent. Because of noble culture of Yagya, God Yagya Purush resides in the Jambudvip. Bharat is the country of divine prestige in this land. While the other places could be the Yog Bhumi, only this preeminent land of Yagya, Bharat, is revered also as Karma Bhumi. Devotion of the limitless Thai expansion in the form of a Yagyagni is indeed a unique bequest of our ancestor rishis to the world. God is omnipresent and beyond the limits of our perception and conceptualization. we may realize thy presence in the divine virtues, spiritually illumined intellects and noble thoughts and deeds of human life. Thy manifestation is eminent everywhere in the world, in the expressions of nature. We may worship thou through the service and welfare of this gigantic manifestation of thee. The brilliance and purity of Agni, fire, is found as the best symbol for thy worship. The first mantra of Rigved, the most ancient scripture of knowledge on earth, quotes Agni Meda Purohitam, signifying Agni as the sacred idol of God. That is what is referred in different religious and spiritual scriptures as the Brahmatej, divine flame, sacred glow, divine light, latent light, etc. The Vedic hymn Agne Supatha Raye prays to this omnipotent, supreme power to enlighten and ennoble us to follow the righteous path. The same is inspired in the segment Dhiyo Yo Naha Prachodayat of the great Gayatri mantra.